we know that a son can inherit his mother. The question was, can he inherit his mother in the grave? Meaning that if she were to die first and he were to die afterwards, can we view it as if really, he's inheriting his mother, and then his inheritors will be able to inherit from him? So that was the Gemara's question. 6 lines from the middle lines. And Bo Minamer of Sheshes Ben Mahu Shir Ima Bekever. Can a son inherit his mother in the kever? So usually she dies first, he inherits. What if now he dies first and then she dies? Can the inheritance still pass down? So he has a mother, but he has brothers from another father. So you want to know if he were to die and then she were to die, can those brothers say, listen, our brother would have inherited his mother, had she been alive, had he been alive when she died, so we should get the inheritance. So let's bring a proof. Amarlu Reb Sheshes Denisua. Let's ha'av shenishra umeis ben over Medina. So a father was captured and then he died, and then his son died at some point later locally. Uben shenishba, or a case where a son was captured. A son was captured, and we don't know when he was captured. He was overseas. He was captured. At some point he died, but we don't know when. So umeis aviv ben Medina, and the father, we know when he died. Once again, we're not sure when either the father died or we're not sure when the son died. Each of their inheritors are fighting for the inheritance, right? Each one wants more money. So if you're the father's inheritors, so you want to make sure that the son died first, the father inherits, then you get money. If you're the son's inheritors, so then vice versa. Okay. So Uben Nisho Meis Avi Ben Medina. So now Yorshe Ha'ava Yorshe Ben Yachloku. The halacha is, Bryce says, the inheritors of the father, inheritors of the son, split the money. Now, hold on. What's the case? If the case is exactly the way you just told me, there's just a father and just a son, and that's it. Nobody else. Meaning the son had no children. So who's splitting? There's only a father and a son. You have an only child son and a father. So now, if the son has children, so then they're going to get the inheritance. And if the son has no children, it's only the father's relatives, so then the inheritance goes paternally. There's no two people here to split it with. So what's the case where you have only a father and only a son, and their inheritors are fighting? Let's say the son has no children. It's just the father's brothers. They anyways inherit. There's no one to fight with. So it must be a case like this. Elalav hakikama. You have a father, has a daughter. The daughter has a son. The daughter's out of the picture. So you have a father and a grandson. So either the father, Shenishba, was captured overseas when Mason died, and Ben Bito and his grandson, his daughter's son, died locally, or the other way around, Ben Bito, Shenishba, the grandson, the son of the daughter. So if you have, you have Yitzchak as a example, Yaakov has a daughter, Dina, and Dina has a son, I don't know, let's make it up, George. I don't know. Yeah, George. So Dina has a son, George. Interesting name. But and now Yaakov. So Yaakov had a daughter, Dina, and now there's George. So now, or George was captured overseas and then he died, and Umeis Avi Ima Bebedina, and then Yaakov, he died locally. So now, Beloya Dina and Heiminayu Meis Beresh. We don't know who died first. So now, Yorshe Avi, Yorshe Ben Yachloku. They split it. So now, the Yorshe Haben, the grandson's inheritors are who? It's going to be his brothers, right? His brothers, his paternal brothers. The inheritors of the grandfather are going to be, let's say, his brothers, right? So now there you have two different people that are both fighting for the inheritance. We don't know. What do? You split it. So now, the Im Isa, if it's true that a son could inherit his mother in the grave, so what happened over here? The mother died first. She's out of the picture. So now, let's say you can view, even after, one second. I guess they died and then the mother died. Right. The Im Isa, if it's true that he can inherit her in the grave, so now, granted, Nehi Nami de Ben Meis Beresha, you're right. Let's say the son died first, the grandson died first. So now, if the grandson died first, so the inheritors of the father are saying, of the grandfather are saying, listen, the grandson died first. We want to, and then the grandfather died. he inherited his grandson. We want all that inheritance. But just because the grandson died first, liyarte leavuha deimi be even though the grandson died first, but let him inherit his mother. Vilartinu laachua min avua, and give it over to his paternal brothers. So meaning, so this grandson never had a chance to inherit his mother. I guess she died after. I have to say that.
She died.
She had to die after.
So his son inherits his mother after he was in his grave.
Right. So meaning the son died, the grandson died first, then the mother died. Right. So just because he died first and then the mother, so let his paternal brothers go and be in the place of their brother, and they should inherit the mother. And they should get that inheritance. The question is, why do they split the inheritance? The brothers of this grandson, the paternal brothers of the grandson, should inherit the whole thing. Why? Because who's going to inherit the grandfather? The daughter, right? Really, the daughter inherits the grandfather. So now, the daughter's not around anymore, right? And the grandson's not around anymore. But let the grandson's relatives, his brothers, step into his shoes. His shoes would be in the place of his mother, and she would be able to inherit her father. Right? So you have he's not alive anymore, right? He's not alive anymore, and then the mother dies also. Right? He's not alive anymore. But he's not alive anymore. But if you can inherit her even in the grave, meaning even when you died first and then she died, so what should come out? Who would inherit the grandfather or the mother? The mother's not around anymore. Who should inherit the mother? The grandson. He's not around anymore. So his paternal siblings should say, listen, we're inheriting our brother who would be in the place of his mother, but we should be in place of the mother, and we should inherit the grandfather and collect everything. Yeah, that should be the case. If you view it as you can inherit her, so then if she would have died, if she would have inherited from the grandfather, right? And then she would have died, she would have given over to the son. And if that son would have died, he would have given over to his brothers. So just so too now, can you inherit her even in the grave? The fact that you were able to inherit her, is that enough to consider you an inheritor? So if in this case, so he died and then she died. So now he really should have inherited her. She should have inherited her father. However, right, what would have happened if the grandfather would have died first? Then the daughter would have inherited it, right? If the grandfather would have died first, then the daughter would have inherited it. If she would have died, so then the grandson would inherit it. So you should view the grandson as the inheritor, even though he's not alive anymore. And yet we don't say that. Rather, we say that they split it. Meaning the only way a son could inherit his mother is if she were to die first, and then he would inherit it. So now, once again, V'im Isa, if it's true that a son could inherit his mother even in the grave, which means not if she dies first, but if she died second, he died first and then she died second, he still inherits her, meaning it'll be passed on through him to his inheritors. So Nehi Nami de Ben Meis Beresha. Who cares that the grandson died first? He should still liyarte le'ime. You should still view him as an inheritor of his mother, be'kavre, in the grave. And since he's still viewed as an inheritor, so now, as soon as the grandfather dies, it goes to the mother, and it goes to the mother, and the mother would give it over to him, and then he would give it over liyarte inhu la'achei me'avua, and he would give it over to his paternal brothers. The fact that we don't say that, we say yachloku, it must be alalav shmamina, ein habein yorish es imo v'kever lahanchil la'achim min av shmamina. A son cannot inherit his mother when he's not alive. He can only inherit his mother when he is alive, and that's halacha, that he can only inherit his mother when he is alive. Just one second. Let me check one thing. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that's the halacha. Says the Gemara, what's the reason that a person cannot inherit his mother, even though he's not alive anymore? When he was alive, he was the inheritor. So he happened to have died, but why can't you still view him as the inheritance goes through him? So Amar Abaye, because of Gzeira Shava. Namra Siba Bebem and Namra Siba Babal, this word of Siba to be transferred over, it's written by a son and it's written by a husband. Ma Siba Hamur Babal, we know a husband only inherits his wife whatever she has, not whatever she should have received, right? It's only muhsak, not ra'ui. Ma Siba Hamur Babal, a husband, Eina Bal Yorish is Ishto Bekever. A husband does not inherit his wife Bekever, meaning he only inherits her when she's alive. If she died first, then he inherits her. But you don't view it. He doesn't inherit her if let's say he died first and then she died. It doesn't go to her, to his inheritors. He only inherits the wife whatever she has today. So therefore, if he were to die first and then she were to die, since he never received that portion, it's not going to be passed down to his inheritors either. So just like a husband is not Yorish as Ishto Bekever, it's only when he's alive is the inheritor. Av Siba Hamor Beben, Ein Ben Yorish Imo Bekever Lahanchil Alchem Min Av. So too, the son is not going to inherit his mother when he is in the grave. It's only when he's alive can he inherit his mother. Okay, now the next part we saw many dafim ago. It's just here because it's talking about different people's property, and who does it belong to? We were just talking about that idea. It's gonna bring this over here. So we're gonna have two cases, and Rav and Rav Nachman are gonna each hold opposite. They're gonna contradict themselves, and we're gonna answer up the contradiction, and then hopefully finish the parak. Okay. So now, a guy said to his friend, I'm selling you all the property from Sisin, meaning I bought a bunch of property. I bought a bunch of property from a guy named Bar Sisin. Yeah, a guy named Jack. I'm selling you all of Jack's property, right? All of Jack's property is being sold to you. Now, there was one piece of land, it happened to be called also Jack's land, but it wasn't necessarily the land that was bought from Jack. It wasn't bought from Bar Sisin. It was called Bar Sisin. So now the land gets sold. So now a fight breaks out. Amrle, the guy wants that other piece of land. So the seller tells him, Amrle, halav de Bar Sisin, it's not actually that land that I bought from Bar Sisin. It's just v'ikuri hu demikri de Bar Sisin. It's just referred to. It's called Bar Sisin, but it's not. It's not that land that I bought. And the other guy's saying, I don't know what that means. You sold me all the land of Bar Sisin. This is also called Bar Sisin. So okay. So what's the halacha? Also, lekame de Rav Nachman. They went to Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman said, "Ukme biyada dilokeach." It's the buyers until you prove otherwise. It's ridiculous. It's called Bar Sisin. Okay, that's Rav Nachman. Amrle Rava, no. Amrle Rava Rav Nachman. Dina hachi. The halacha is hamotze mechaver al varaya. At the end of the day, you want to extract property from the seller. You need to bring a proof. So now that's one. Rav Nachman says buyer keeps it. Rava says bring a proof. The Rami the Rava Rav Nachman other Rav Nachman. Contradictory statements coming up soon. Rava against Rava and Rav Nachman against Rav Nachman. The Hod Amrle Chavre my by Ara. Guy comes home one day, sees the guy living in his house. He says, "Hey, what are you doing here?" He says, "What do you mean? Mister, I've been using your house for 3 years, and you haven't said a word, and you went to Daf Yomi, so if I'm here for 3 years and you keep silent, the house is mine. So I'll see you Sanhedrin. Goodbye." And he closes the door. Right? So, so the guy tells him, "No, Amar Le, Ana b'shchuni gavaya have." Listen, there's inner rooms and there's outer rooms. I was in the inner rooms, consistently walking through your outer room. So you're right, I didn't say anything because I was using the outer room. Clearly, I didn't forfeit my right to the outer room. I was using it as my passing through. I was using it to, I had my TV in there to watch the game. I was there hanging out. So that's why I didn't say anything. So what are you telling me? Oh, because I didn't say anything, it's yours. I was walking through every day. So now, what's the halacha? Asla coming to Rav Nachman. They went to Rav Nachman. Amar Le, zil bar achilascha. So here, Rav Nachman says, listen, you got to prove that you've been here for 3 years. The guy's questioning the validity of that the house is yours. Go prove it. So Amar Le Rav Nachman, Dina hachi, the buyer's been here for 3 years. The seller wants to remove him out of the house. He should bring a proof. So now, Kasha the Rava, the Rachman. In one case, Rava says he cannot keep it. He has to bring a proof. And in this case, he says you could keep it. The other guy has to bring a proof. Rav Nachman said, in one case he can keep it. In one case he has to prove it. Contradiction. No. The Rava lo kasha hacham mocher kai b'nechase hasam lokeach kai b'nechase. No, a big difference. Over there, the seller has the land of Bar Sisim. It's in the seller's property. So there, Rava said, it's going to stay by the seller until you bring a proof. Here, in our case, where is the land? It's by the buyer. The guy's been in the house for 3 years. So basically, Rava's always going with the person who right now is in possession of the property. You go Basar, we say Basar the Muksuk. You go after the Muksuk, the guy who has a grasp. He has a hold on the property. That's what Rava says. To remove from the guy that has a hold on the property, you got to bring a proof. So Hasan Lokeh Kai B'Nisei. The Rav Nachman Lokasha. Rav Nachman is also not a contradiction. Why? So, good to hear your echo, no? So Hacha came into Amar Le Debei Bar Sisin. Rav Nachman says, listen, it's called Bar Sisin, right? You bought land from Bar Sisin, and this land, the other land that you're claiming, was not part of that sale. It's called Umikri Debei Bar Sisin. It's called the fields of Bar Sisin. So you know what? Aleha Didei Ramya Leguya. You have to prove, reveal the lav Debei Bar Sisin. Come on, it's called Bar Sisin. There's very good reason to assume it was that original land that was bought from the guy Bar Sisin, Jack's land. If you want to come and say that it's actually not Jack's land, it's just called Jack's land, then you need to bring a proof. The seller has to bring a proof that it's not called Jack's land, because logically, I'm selling you all the Rolexes in the store, right? So you go and you pick up all except for one. The guy's like, what's happening over here? No, it's not a Rolex, it's just called Rolex. What does that mean? No, it's not. It's not Rolex. I'm like, what do you mean? It's gold. It says Rolex on it. It looks and smells like a Rolex. It was put next to the Rolex section. So you know what? You, the seller of the Rolex, have to bring a proof. This is not part of the chevra. It's not part of the Rolexes, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's Rolex style. That's so there Rav Nachman says the seller has to bring a proof that it's not his. But here in our case, where Rav Nachman makes the guy prove that he's been here for 3 years, what's Rav Nachman's rationale? Let's say you were holding a document. We know that a chazaka is like as good as holding a document saying that you own the property. Okay, so let's say you were holding a document saying, I bought the land from you. But now the guy comes and questions the validity of the document, right? So we would tell you, go validate your document. You have to do kiyum shtaris. You have to validate the signatures on the document. So just like in a shtar, we need you to validate the signatures, right? Why are you validating signatures? Because the person could always say, you forged the shtar. So if you go validate it, we know it's not forged. So too, hacha, lo yehei elek denaket shtara. It's like holding a shtar. And just like a shtar will tell you, go validate it. So too here, it's like in place of a shtar, in place of a document, we're questioning your chazaka because, you're here for 3 years, but I was using the outer room that you're claiming is yours. So if you want to prove to me that it was yours, the chazak is not going to help you over here because the chazak has a question on it because I was using it. So my silence doesn't necessarily tell you that it was yours. You need two things for a chazaka: 3 years of living and the owner's silence. So 3 years you have. Silence is being questioned. So says Rav Nachman, go figure out this question. Find a proof. Find something that would prove that you bought it from the guy. Maybe maybe you bring witnesses. You bring witnesses that you lived there for 3 years. That's good enough. But my silence is not good enough. So right. It's interesting. Meaning, if he brings witnesses that he actually lived there for 3 years, the fact that the guy used the outer room wouldn't work against two witnesses. Witnesses better than that. You have to prove. You have to really prove that it's. Maybe I let you use the outer room. You can let your upstairs tenant, come downstairs and use your. That's like doesn't show you that you never bought it. It just shows you that you're a nice guy. So that's where Nachman says, "Milar minan kiyim sharcha v'kayim benechasei hajan alecha mishames." I went a little bit fast. We don't fall too far behind. Okay, that's okay. Good. Documents. A get is a divorce document. I believe the Vilna Gaon is known to say that we never find anywhere in Tanakh the letter Tes after the letter Gimel, because when that happens, when there's a get, there are tears that come down on the mizbeach, on the altar. Vilna Gaon says we're not into that idea. If you have to, you have to, but we try to avoid it at all costs. Anyways, that's the introduction. A get is also referred to as a regular document, meaning get we know refers to a divorce document, but in this case, when we say get, we refer to all documents. A regular shtar is referred to as a get also. Okay. Now we know a document has to be signed with witnesses, right? Now we're going to explain why. Hopefully we'll get it today. We'll get to it today. We'll see. But they used to write a document in two styles. One is a regular style. You write all the words, all the content of the document, and then the bottom you sign. However, there was another thing they did, which was no longer around even shortly after the Gemara's time. It wasn't around. The Rishonim wasn't around anywhere, but there was a period of time where they would actually fold the shtar. You would write one line where you would write. The next line you would leave blank, fold it over. Next line write. Next line leave blank, fold it over. So we're going to talk about that idea, these two kinds of stars, right now. Get Pashut. What's it called? Constantine document. So some of these things are a little bit visual coming up. So I don't know if you have the visuals. It'll be helpful. It's definitely helpful for me. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of pictures coming up, especially the bottom of the Amud going on to the next Amud. Okay, let's get there. So get Pashut. You have a get Pashut. Pashut means simple, regular, nothing fancy. Pashut, yeah. Get Pashut, Eidav Mitocho. Where do the witnesses sign? Within the shtar, inside, like a regular document. Mekusher, again, Mekusher, one that's tied, literally tied up. So it has all these folds on it. It's a folded shtar. The top 3 lines were really folded, and then the rest of the document was straight. So where do they sign? So now we say Me'achorov. They sign on the back of the shtar. On the back of the shtar, we're going to see exactly how they sign one after another, pair, the long way, the either vertically or horizontally, but they sign on the back of the shtar. Okay. Get Pasha Edom Mitocho, Mekusha Edom Me'achorov. Okay. Pasha Chikasu Edom Me'achorov. Pasha Chikasu Edom Me'achorov. But Mekusha Chikasu Edom Mitocho Shnei Psulim. If you switch it, if you write witnesses on the outside of a regular get, or you have witnesses' signatures on the inside of a get Mekusha, I'm not saying English, a tied get, a knotted get, a bound up get, the one that has all the creases. Bound up get, okay. So it's possible. You got to do exactly as they say. Once again, documents were extremely important back then. This was your proof of owning everything, of marriage, of owning property. This is your lifeline. So we took every detail of a shtar extremely seriously. So if you veered off, it's out. Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel Omer Mekusher Shekas Eida Mitocho Kosher. No, if you wrote witnesses sign on the inside of a get Mekusher, it's still kosher. Why? Mipnei sheyachol lasoso pasher. You could always, if you witnesses sign on the creased part, the folded part of the get, you could always unfold it and see their signatures. Versus the other opinion held, yeah, but normally you don't see the signatures, right? So you have to undo the whole thing. So, but he says, listen, you could always open it up. We're not going to invalidate the get because of that. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says, Hakol Kemenega Medina. It depends. It's different customs. It's not a clear halacha. Follow the customs of your land. It's not just a nice thing. There's a whole paragraph psachim about this. That when your Medina is doing something, you have to follow them. If they're all keeping Shabbos at one point, you follow them. If you keep, if you're a one-day Israel Jew in America, you follow them. You don't do malacha the second day. That's all comes up over there. It's not just a nice thing. You have to follow the minhag, and if you deviate, at least one opinion says that you're causing machlokas, and therefore we do not allow you to do that. Okay.
They sewed up.
They sewed up, right? They sewed it up. Yeah. What is that?
Everybody's got to eat Israel, right?
That's right. That's right.
Oh,
that's why I moved to Portland. Yeah. So yeah. So get pashut eid of b'shtayim, a regular get, only 2 witnesses sign. Mekusher b'shlosha. Mekusher needs to have 3 witnesses and not 2. Yeah. That was the enactment of the Chachamim. Pashut shekasabo eid echad or mekush kasabo shnei eidim shnei psulim. If a regular get has 1 eid and a sewed up get, that's a good word. A sewed up get has a tied up get, a sewed up get has 2 witnesses as possible. You have to have 3. Okay, we're going to try to bring proofs from 3 places. The fact that there's such an existence of a get mekusher, meaning who says such a thing exists. We're going to try 3 biblical verses, rejected them all, and come out that it's enactment of the rabbis, and the psukim are just what we call an asmachta, a nice hint to it in the verses. Okay, minani mili, that there's 2 kinds of shtaros out there. Who said? So Amar Rabbi Chanina Damar Kra, Yirmiyahu was telling the Jewish people, we're going to come back. When we come back to Israel after the exile, why don't you buy land? Start now. Why don't you buy land, write up documents, it'll be ready to go. How does he say it? Sados b'kesef yiknu, you should buy the fields with money. The kasam b'sefer v'chasam, write down in literally we know a sefer means a book, but it really means a scroll, right into a document. V'chasam, and seal it. The ha'ed edim, and the witnesses. Okay, let's take apart the verse. Sados b'kesef yiknu, buy field with money. The kasam b'sefer, turning the page. De pasha. That's referring to a regular. Sefer there is referring to a regular document. The chasam, what's that referring to? A sealed document. What's a sealed document? Zemekusher, one that is sealed. It's sewed up at the top. The ha'ed, that's referring to shtayim. That's referring to 2 witnesses. It's like Gemara Sota says that whenever the Torah says aid in Torah, it's referring to 2 witnesses, right? The Gemara Sota brings a proof. Whenever it says aid in the Torah, it's referring to 2 witnesses. So aid is 2. Aidim, plural, is shlosha. That's 3. How do you have 2 and 3? Haketzad, shnayim lepashut, shlosha lemekusher. 2 for a regular document and 3 for a sewn-up document. Says the Gemara, the epoch on it. Why don't you flip it? Why don't you have 3 for a regular document and 2 for a sewn-up document? How do you know which one it refers to? Says the Gemara, it's going to use this answer 3 times over today. Mitoshin nisraba biksharav nisraba be'edav. Logically, if you have 2 options where to put 3 witnesses, we're going to put it at the document that has more sewings, meaning the document that's in need of more. You can't just write it. If you have to write a sewn-up document, such a document which requires more, it's mistaber. It's logical that's going to have also more witnesses. Sounds like it's a more machmir document. All these rules to it. Logically, you'll put the stringency of 3 witnesses on that document also. Okay. Raf from Amar, another opinion says from here. So this is, I think, Yirmiyahu also, and he bought land from his uncle, whose name was, I'm not remembering right now. Okay, he bought land from somebody, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Hanamel, his uncle, right? Okay, so the Ekach has Sefer HaMaknes, the Ekach has Sefer HaMikna, sorry. I will take the Sefer HaMikna. Mikna is like the word kinyan of acquiring things. Es HaChasum, the one that is signed, sealed. HaMitzvah, the mitzvah, the HaChukim, V'Esagalui, and the laws, and the one that's revealed. Okay, cryptic verse. Let's take it apart. The Ekach has a Sefer HaMikna Zeh Pasha. Taking the document of acquisition is referring to a regular document. As hachasum zemekusher, the one that's what's the sealed one? A sealed document. That's hagalui zepasher. Zepasher shebemekusher. The revealed part is referring to the revealed part of the sealed document. Once again, they only sealed up the top of the document with 3 foldings. The rest of it was a regular document. So this revealed part is the revealed part of the sealed document. Okay, that's where they had all the content. That's where they have all the details of what took place. Okay. Hamitzvah chukim. So what are hamitzvah chukim? Elu dvarim. These are the things that differentiate a regular document from a sealed document. So what's that? Haketzad. Ze'edav must be the mitzvah and the chukim. There's the different rules that you have to have for each document. What are the rules? Ze'edav shnayim, ze'edav shlosha. What it means is that this document has certain rules, and that one has certain rules. So what are the rules? 2 witnesses for here and 3 witnesses for here. 2 for the simple, 3 for the sewn-up. So it says the Gemara. Oh, that's 1. 2 is ze'edav mitocho v'ze'edav ma'achora. 1 has to have witnesses on the inside. 1 has to have witnesses on the outside. Says the Gemara ve'epachana. Maybe have the amount of witnesses flipped, 3 on a simple and 2 on a sealed document. Says the Gemara, as same as before, mitoikshin nisrabe biksharav nisrabe be'edav. Since we have more, it requires more, you have to seal it up, all these rules. So too, the witnesses are going to be, you need more witnesses on this document also. 3rd attempt, and then they're all going to be rejected. Yeah. From the Torah itself, not from Yirmiyahu. So it says, famous verse, the source that we need 2 witnesses for anything. Al pishnayim edim, you have to have 2 witnesses. O al pishlosha edim. Ooh, you have to have either 2 witnesses or 3 witnesses. Yakum davar. Will the matter be established, firm and established? Says the Gemara. Hold on, 2 or 3. Into sky may do some bishnayim lam appear lechaber shlosha. If you already have 2 witnesses, then for sure 3 are going to work, right? You should know you need 2 witnesses, and you also 3 is going to work. Obviously, if 2 works, then 3 works. So lomer lecha shnayim. So says right now we're learning it must be referring to 2 separate cases. What are those 2 cases? Shnayim lepashut, shlosha lemakusher, which is fascinating, by the way. Meaning this is the source of 2 witnesses for everything in the Torah. I'll say them yakum davar. You have to have 2 witnesses. So does that mean that for other things we would need a new source? I don't know. But at one point the Gemara thinks the whole verse is referring to documents. Fascinating. Says the Gemara of Epachana, flip it. No, don't flip it. Because since it requires more, you need to have more witnesses over there. By the get makusher, by the sealed document, and by the simple document, you have to have less. So even 2 witnesses is going to be fine. Says the Gemara, what is going on over here? He says maybe each verse is just telling you something in their context and nothing more than that. It's telling you no halachas. It's just telling you what happened in each case. Okay, so let's go through all the cases. L'chiditanya says the Brisa the following. So first pasuk, solas b'kesef yiknu v'kasum b'sefer v'chasum. Yirmiyahu was just saying this is good advice. If you're going to be buying fields in Israel, it's good advice to go and write up documents right now, purchase them, have a document, and therefore you're going to have proof that you bought fields. So it's Eitz Tova Kamashon, and that's it. Nothing more than that. Good advice from Yirmiyahu and Navi, and don't learn more, and don't anything more into that. Okay. Yirmiyahu was buying land from his uncle, from Mikna. So says the Gemara, yeah, that's just what happened. The story was he told him, go take something and go take the document and write it down. Now, obviously, according to this opinion, you do not have to figure out, the verses, said different things that were a little bit ambiguous, which the Gemara thought before was teaching us halachas. So now that it's not teaching us halachas, you have to figure out why it's speaking in that way. Fine, but not when you're 4 off behind. So yeah. So al pishnayim edim, al pishlosha edim. Okay, and what's this? The pasuk in the Torah, it says 2 or 3. What's 2 or 3? So that is the Gemara in Makos. It's to teach you lahaki shlosha l'shnayim. It's to compare 3 witnesses to 2 witnesses. That comparison is a machlokas beplug to Rabbi Akiva v'Rabbanan. Look there in Makos or in the footnote. They have their own argument why you have to what this is teaching you. 3 compared to 2. So it's by Eidim Zoman, by witnesses that were found to be false witnesses. So look there in Makos, but it's not to teach you anything about documents like we're trying to teach you. Teach you another halacha. So now, fine, very good. So now v'Rabbanan, ela b'mekushar mid'Rabbanan, Ella, the document which is sealed is of rabbinic enactment. Vikroi and the psukim are smachta ba'alma. They're just psukim that are a hint to it. You want to know where a hint of this is? The Rambam writes in his introduction to his commentary on the Mishnayos, the famous introduction. He goes to the whole history of oral Torah, how it developed. Very interesting. There he says that in a smachta it's just something to remember things. You want to remember things. People argue with him on this. Other Rishonim say it's not just a way to remember. It actually gives strength to a din d'Rabbanan. If you have a rabbinic law within a smachta, so okay, fine. What is the reason why at some point in history, it didn't last for too long? Soon after the Gemara, it was no longer, and they don't bring it down in halacha, but why did they make these documents? So this is very interesting. The time of my tekinu Rabbanim Mekusher. Why? Because there was places, the Kohani Havu, there were places that there were Kohanim, and since there were Kohanim, they would get sometimes very upset. They would get angry. Interesting. The Havu Kapti, they would get angry, very angry. And what would they do? They would divorce their wives. They would divorce their wives. So therefore, the Rabbanan didn't want that to happen. They didn't want, so obviously this needs a lot of explanation. Why the Kohanim? What were they getting angry for? Usually Kohanim are the ones that are the most careful. So you have to know. But at the end of the day, right, he's not going to be able to marry a divorcee. So they don't want that to happen. One. Two, they don't want people to divorce their wives. So, out of anger, so what they do, they made a whole enactment to prevent this. Amazing. The Avdi Rabbanan Takanta, and the Rabbanan made an enactment to if you're going to divorce your wife, do it in this way. The hachi v'hachi, what's going to happen? And when you have to go and fold. Can't focus. But okay, so the hachi, what's going to happen? What's going to happen is that they're going to calm down. They're going to have to go get a document. You can't just get a document and just sign it and give it to the lady. You have to go fold it over, find 3 witnesses, write it on the outside. A whole way to do it. It's going to cause. What's going to happen? A big lesson in how to deal with anger management is it's going to calm you down. So nowadays they say count to 10 before you react. Back then they made an enactment before you react. That's right. So v'halkin miyasa daitayo. It says here to remove anger, to act upon anger, you need to be calmed down. That's what it means. Yasatai means you have to be relaxed. So whatever works for you. Now, just we should know, Tosa says 2 opinions. Either they forced every Kohen to do this, you had to do it. There was no other way to divorce your wife, or they didn't. Sorry, or they didn't force you to divorce right away, but they strongly encouraged it. 2 opinions. But either way, they wanted the client to calm down, and therefore that would solve the problem. Okay. Says the Gemara, Hatenach Gittin. Okay, that's very good for Gittin. But we know that Get Mekusher means all documents had to do this, not just divorce documents. So, Shtaros Michael Meimar. So says the Gemara, Kadesh Techalik Bein Gittin L'Shtar. What's going to happen is, if you only require this by Gittin, not by any other document, a guy's going to show up and give his wife a sewed up document. They're going to say, this is invalid. No one else brings these documents to Beis Din. Therefore, so you see, it's just amazing how much they went so that this shouldn't happen, right? They made all documents had to be sealed. You have to seal up all documents, or at least you were able to seal them up, and therefore it will be a kosher document. I don't know if they made you do it by regular documents. Probably not, but you were able to do it. It was an option on the table. Okay, now here's the part that needs a little bit of a visual. So bear with me. Heichen Eidim Chosman. Where did the witnesses sign in a sealed and sewed up document? They sign on the back somewhere. Where on the back? Rav Huna Amar, Bain Kesher LeKesher. So each sewed, they had 1 line they wrote, 1 line they left blank, and they sewed that up. Between each sewing, they would write down their name. So I guess it would be in the blank line. I mean, when it's folded over, it's going to be in the middle. 3 times over, right? Between the folds, they would sign. Right. Bain Kesher LeKesher, between the sewings. Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba Amar. Here's the part that for me it's hard to visualize. Rabbi Yomi Bava Batra acharei haksav u'keneged haksav mibachutz. So wherever the document was written, right? It means not between the top where it's sewn, on the back where you wrote, meaning you had the revealed part of the sewn up document. On the back side of that, you would write it down. U'keneged haksav mibachutz. So acharei haksav, on the back of the ksav, who kineged ksav mi bachutz, and where it was written on the front side, they would sign the back side of that. So much more sounds like towards the bottom of the shtar. So one's either between the kshar and between the sewings, the one's on the bottom. Okay. Amar le Rabbi Yirmiyah, Amar le Rami bar Chama le Rav Chisda. So Rami bar Chama asked, he said to Rav Chisda that what, according to Rav Huna the Amar, bein kesher le kesher. So if he has to sign between kesher le kesher, so kasaka daitin bein kesher le kesher migavai. We first thought it meant between the sewings on the inside of the document, not the outside. That's what we first thought. But what happened? This sewn document that came in front of him, the Rebbe, the Abba Rebbe said, this document, Ein Zman Bazeh. There's nobody wrote down the time of the document. No one wrote that down. So now he looked at the document and he said, there's no time written here. Ein Zman Bazeh. So Amar Lei, Rabbi Shimon, Rebbe, Rabbi Shimon said to Rebbe, what do you mean? Maybe it's between Shema Bein Sharav Muvla. Maybe it's between the sewings. So what happened? Pliya v'chazia. He tore it open and looked at it, and that's where he was able to find it. Now, the Im Isa, if it's true that the witnesses were going to sign on the inside of the document, so why did Rebbe say Ein Zman Bazeh? He should have said Ein Zman Bazeh ve'Ein Eidim Bazeh, right? If it was written inside somewhere, it was hidden. So Rebbe said, I can't see the time. He should have said, and I can't see the witnesses either. Must be that the witnesses he saw. How did he see it? It was on the back of the document. It wasn't hidden inside between the inner folds. It was on the outer folds. Since it's on the outer folds, therefore he could see it. Okay. So must be that they wrote it on not on the inside in the folds, but on the outside. Good. Amar Le. So he says, one second. Mi savers bein kesher lekesher mi gavoy. Lo bein kesher lekesher mi avroy. You thought it was written on the inside, on the inner folds. No, it was written on the outer folds. Okay. Now the Gemara asks, yeah. So now, okay, I believe now we're asking on the opinion that says that you write it on the back of the document, not between the folds, on the back of the document. So it says the Gemara, v'neichus, you should always be worried, dilma zayif v'kasav. Maybe he really forged the whole document, and he got witnesses to just sign the back. So the kasav mai debayi v'chasim misadi. He wrote whatever he wanted, right? And on the back, he had witnesses sign. So says the Gemara, you can't do that. Why? Dichsiv bei sharir v'kayim. In general, the document itself says sharir v'kayim. It's firm and established, and once it says that, so then you can't write anything afterwards. That's the final statement of the document. So anything that's written afterwards is going to be forged, meaning it's going to be not allowed. Sorry. The witnesses are signing at the top of the document. Same opinion. You're signing between the folds. So what's going to happen? They're going to sign the top between the folds, and then he can write whatever he wants. He said that at the end of the day, though, since the bottom of the document says whatever's written here is already confirmed and established, the guy can't add more. We're worried the guy's going to want to add more to the document and have the witness sign on the top somewhere. It says no. Once it says Shar V'Kayim, you can't add to the document anymore. It's already firm and established. Anything written after that last statement, it's like sign here on the doc. It's like and this document is everything written on top is final and true, and you can't add afterwards, and that's it. So now v'neichash dilma kasav ma'i debai. Maybe he'll write whatever he wants, and then he'll write v'hadar kasav shar v'kayim achrina. He'll write whatever he wants, meaning he wrote down the document. It says it's final. Then he wrote more, and then he wrote again, and it's final again. So that was the final line. So says the Gemara. No. Chitat shar v'kayim kasvinon, trei shar v'kayim lo kasvinon. A person can only write one shar v'kayim, firm and established. You can't write it twice. Okay.